The Senate has passed the Trump budget today after a bruising battle that did lose several Republican votes. It required the Trump White House to send down Vice President Vance to cast this tie-breaking vote and save the embattled bill.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
This vote, clearly the most important moment for Trump's domestic agenda thus far this year. High-profile Republican defections put an ongoing strain on the GOP and raised real concerns about whether Trump was going to fail in the Senate up until today. And there were a host of factual arguments against this budget. Democrats knocking the human cost, some Republicans concerned about the politics, the debt, and the health care cuts.
So many people will be hurt in such powerful ways.
Senator Collins, can we ask you why you voted no, ma'am?
This vote will haunt our Republican colleagues for years to come.
This bill will lead to a much greater deficit.
Also that a handful of billionaires can just get a little bit richer.
Do I like this bill? No. In many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill. I don't like that.
I don't like that. Faced with the Trump budget's obvious damage to working people, Republican Senator Murkowski there saying, I don't like that. To paraphrase the artist Chief Keef, cutting health care, that's something I don't like. Boosting the deficit, that's something I don't like. I don't like. The senator clear about her view.
Do I like this bill? No. There are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill. I don't like that.
That's something she don't like. But she was less clear about her vote, the senator casting her powerful, indeed pivotal, vote for the budget she don't like, knocking a, quote, awful process. The bill's not good enough, while saying maybe other politicians can just fix it over in the House. So that's what the win looks like, which makes you wonder whether it's a win, and there's a lot of road left. I will show you what the Trump folks and some of the hardline Republicans who work with him are saying, because there's agreement that this is an extreme, unusual budget policy. That's actually not one of those debates about reality that we're having right now. The Republicans with Trump acknowledge the extremes, the very big shift in direction, but say it's good.
I've spent my entire life in the conservative movement, dreaming of the day where we could have a piece of legislation like what exists right now.
This is a historic direction that we're moving for President Trump.
We delivered for the president.
The bill is going to be great for Iran. It's going to be great for Florida, too. A lot of set-asides for Florida, some of the things that you wanted to do. And so it's great news to hear that it was approved.
Set-asides, special for Florida. Exemptions, special for Alaska. It is true, fact check true, what the president mentioned there, that certain states, like Murkowski's Alaska, have exemptions from some of the most controversial parts of this bill, which is a reminder of something very straightforward, and you don't have to be an expert on politics or follow the news closely to figure this out. If you ever worked somewhere where you have a boss who has an exception to the rules that govern all the other people who work there, reminds you that the rules there aren't great, and people with enough power don't have to follow them. A reminder that even these very red states, Alaska, don't want to live under all the rules and policies in this new Trump budget, which cuts so much health care out of Medicaid and people's coverage across the country, 10 to 12 million people losing health care if this bill becomes law, which is where it's headed, exploding the deficit with $3 trillion added to the debt, largely to pay for those tax cuts for multimillionaires. Over in the House, there's a Republican there who said, how did the bill get so much effing worse, the Hill reports? And others saying the bill's a dud, should be deleted and replaced. But for the hardliners in the House, they want to replace it largely with the more extreme bill that goes after the safety net that they were planning. And that means that while the substance might not get better, according to the concerns that even Republicans in the Senate had, Donald Trump could still have a struggle on his hands with this domestic policy priority for him as it heads back to the House under this process.
This is not ready for prime time.
This is the Senate doing swamp things.
This is not going to sail through the House. We're going to have to negotiate with the Senate one more time.
I think this is a travesty.
I believe that the rule vote will not pass tomorrow morning, and then the Speaker's going to have to decide how he gets this back.
But Musk says this bill is, quote, insane, and he has a lot of money. So whether you believe all of his musings or not, he says he could fund a third party, go after the people here who were supporting the Trump budget. And Trump, who has been very blatant about being willing to abuse power, I say this before I play the clip, I want you to understand, just for history's sake, this is the kind of thing that would have been in a Nixon secret recording, and if it came out, it would have been a scandal, because you are not allowed, or supposed to, constitutionally use the government to go after your enemies. In short, that's a lot of what Watergate was about. But this is what Trump publicly threatens Musk now.
That he's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but he could lose a lot more than that. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies.
Fact check, true. That's the second thing the president has said tonight, where we fact check him. It is true that Elon Musk gets a lot of subsidies. Apparently, Musk and Trump both know that, and after all the months of talk about other people's fraud, it is the Musk subsidies that Trump is threatening. As for Elon, who is continuing to distance himself from his high-profile approach to cutting other people's subsidies, he's saying that when he came out with that chainsaw at the conservative conference, that move, the idea of just chainsawing people's jobs, benefits, their years of service, it actually lacked, he says, empathy. Alex?
There's a ketamine joke to be made somewhere here, but I'm not going to make it. I'll leave that to you, Ari.
And I'll leave it to the late night comics.
None of us are going to touch it.
Hot potato is now off the table.
I mean, I guess part of me is Elon's reasons for not liking this bill seem so tangential to the essence of why it's bad, right? Like, okay, fine, it doesn't cut enough, but everything else in it is so profoundly awful. I still go back to why does anybody support this piece of it? And it seems pretty clear, as you talk about representative democracy, that the old adage of the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. It's the calculation that the entire Republican Party has made, with the exception, I guess, of Elon Musk, who's doing his own Elon Musk thing, which is the devil you don't know, which is the future, is better than the devil you do know, which is Donald Trump, right? Like, they just don't believe in catastrophe anymore. I think it's this idea that, like, the outlines from the CBO or from the, Yale Budget Department or any independent arbiter tell you that if this thing passes, we are barreling towards disaster, right? It's not complicated. But because we live in these times of alarm where the stakes are so high and the democracy, I guess, is still functioning, right? People are still, going to restaurants and bars. We bombed Iran, but what are the consequences we're paying? There is a sense of lawlessness that is, I think, pervades these Republicans in Congress and has convinced them that, like, the consequences don't really apply, that the talk of catastrophe, the human suffering that awaits is just all too abstract to really worry about. And that the thing they really need to concern themselves with is Donald Trump going up there and saying Doge is coming for you, or I'm going to primary you, or I'm going to tweet mean things about you.
It's transactional to them and not, as you say, to the government.
Their personal concerns about their own, power so deeply trump, pardon the expression, any concern they actually have about the American public.